Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Deja Vu here, bringing you a special dual commentary with Varosh, who has come back from kind of a reprieve from commentating for a while it's been. And this is actually going to be a rematch of the OSL Finals. If you haven't already watched the OSL Finals, stop watching this immediately and go watch them on Nuke or Moktiro or Navake, somewhere else, because there's no way that you can possibly cast a Stork Fantasy rematch literally the day after the OSL Finals were played without talking about what happened. Giving you a couple seconds, and if you're still here, I'm sure you've seen the games, or I hope you have, because this is going to be a shot at redemption for Stork, who got completely swept 3-0'd by Fantasy in the OSL Finals, and now he's going to have a chance in Team Leagues. This is the ace match of SKT versus Samsung Khan to get at least a little bit, not a lot, because this is Team League versus OSL Finals, but he can get a little bit of his mojo back maybe by beating Fantasy in this game. It's going to be on Empire of the Sun, and I'm hoping that we'll get a good game. The three games that he lost to Fantasy were mediocre. Fantasy had some really good builds tailor-made to screw Stork up, and it was well played, but it wasn't the best of games, to be honest, watching, and I'm hoping that this one ends up being a little bit more entertaining. What do you think, Varosh?
I really feel bad for Stork. There's 10 players in the history of StarCraft 1 that have gotten 2 or more Star Leagues, and Stork is not one of them. And with the future of StarCraft Brood War looking a little bit uncertain, I mean, I hope it continues for years and years to come, but you know, it might not, and I want Stork to get that second Star League so he can be remembered not just in my mind but statistically too as one of the greats. And whoa, is Stork going for a 12 Nexus? I do not see a gateway. So early expansion from Stork, trying to get an early economic lead, and they are in cross position, so I'm guessing that's going to work out for him. So I don't know. I'm a little bit biased here, obviously, because I love Stork, but it's nice to see him probably going to be off to an early lead.
Yeah, I'm a little biased too. I definitely want Stork to win. He's a partner with Jangbi, who's been doing terribly recently, so I gotta root for the other Samsung Khan Protoss. And with this forward Rax, I'm thinking that this will probably be Rax Expo from Fantasy. It's become very, 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 very popular for Terrans to do this, and it's almost kind of been a transition by Protoss players to go away from 12 Nexus and start going back to one-base builds, particularly Reaver builds, which Stork is obviously extremely good at, to try and take advantage of the late gas and the late tanks coming out, because One Rax Expo it's just a really good build against Protoss and Zerg. It's kind of ridiculous, and that is exactly what he's doing. It's kind of ridiculous just how easy it is for Terran players to defend if you don't really commit beforehand to an attack. Like, you almost have to expect a One Rax Expo is coming your way and build accordingly to fight it. 12 Nex does pretty well against it, but really it's really close. It's really Stork really won't come out very much ahead economically in this. If anything, they're about even, I would say, when everything is considered with the speed of that second base for Terran.
Yeah, with the one Rax Expo, the economies are going to be pretty even. So if Stork wants to, get an advantage because the Protoss does want to be ahead, he's going to have to take that third, which on this map is a little bit difficult because it's, vulnerable from that little strip in between your main and your third, where there's the wall. I've seen that tanked several times, and then there's the entrance from the middle of the map too. So that's kind of difficult to hold. And you were talking about Stork's Reavers, and we were actually talking about how stupid Reavers are at the beginning of this game. We're like, StarCraft Brood War hands down better than StarCraft 2, except Colossi aren't retarded and Reavers are, and somehow Stork manages to have less stupid Reavers than everybody else. His Reaver control is so good, and there are a number of things I think Stork can do in this game, but I would personally love to see Reavers. I think his Reaver control is so good, and with one Rax into CC, Fantasy has 2 bases, and he's going to have a lot of SCVs ripe for the Scarabing.
Yeah, I would love to see some Reavers too. I think if he goes Reavers, it'll be more of almost defensive Reavers, just because by the time out of this 12 next that Reavers come out, if that is what he decides to do, I think Fantasy should have at least a turrets up, and he'll probably know through, the awesomeness of scans, and we see that Academy going up, that Reavers are coming his way, and have some sort of preparation for it. But Reavers do really well in terms of even holding off pushes by Terrans, not in the hands of amateur players, mind you, but in the hands of a capable pro like Stork. Reavers do a really good job with just a couple of Zealots being dropped to really land those Scarabs and take out a couple of tanks and really hold down, stop a push from taking effect for an extra minute and a half, and lets you get that get just that extra couple rounds of units that you need to defend. And I think Stork could be going for that. We do see the robotics facility, and we'll see whether it's for Reavers or if it's for Observatory, and just if he's going to try and get that third base up and running. We'll have to see as we move forward.
Yeah, it looks like Stork is poised to take his third base pretty early. We saw a pretty early armory out for Fantasy gonna.
Hey guys, Deja Vu here. We actually lost about a minute and a half of this commentary just due to some vent issues and lag and that sort of thing. So I'm actually going to go back and just try to fill in this minute and a half, try and make sure we didn't miss anything. I hope neither me or nor Varosh had any particularly great insights or any fantastic analysis that you guys missed. But I think we'll probably be okay here, as the wall up is going up at the third for Stork. And yeah, this is just going to be a filler. And that's it for about another minute or so, and then we'll get back to the regular commentary. I think you mostly just missed, I think, a segment of me talking, but I'm not entirely positive. We do have a couple more, one more factory coming up for Fantasy, and yeah, still doesn't seem like he's really preparing for a push yet. He's getting that +1 on the armory, so look, it's going to be quite a late push, really. By the time these factories get up and running, it's going to be pretty late, so it's going to be a macro-style game that we're going to be heading into. Expect to see Fantasy go for a third base pretty soon as well as he pushes out. Pretty standard stuff, but should be pretty fun. And yeah, we see a couple more supply depots. Nothing too out of the ordinary. No real interesting play yet. Just very, very standard. And this is the type of play that will actually play into Stork's favor generally. Hyper standard play, very normal, very straightforward. PvT or in TVP, whichever way you want to look at it, is really Stork's forte and what he likes to see, what he likes to do. I think Stork's going to be pretty happy.
And in Fantasy is still two-basing pretty hard, not really looking like he's poised to take a third. So Stork is going to have this one-base lead, which a Protoss would really love to have. And there's no turrets that have gone up at all for Fantasy, probably because he's scanned and seen the lack of Reavers. And he's got Goliath to protect. Oh, he's already got a wall of Goliath. Okay. So I don't know, this is looking like a pretty even game, but my personal bias is leading me to believe that Stork's going to win.
I feel like this just has the feel of those OSL games that just happened. I mean, Fantasy did this, basically a very similar things against Stork. He skipped turrets entirely, knowing that Stork does not tend to go Dark Templars, doesn't even worry about getting turrets, gets Goliaths out pretty early. I would not be surprised if that's range upgrading, or if he already has range, which is one of the things he did against Stork. I think that was game 1 actually that he did against Stork. He got Goliath range and took down the shuttle that had a Reaver in it, like right at the beginning of the game, and Stork was really far behind at that point. Getting those early upgrades, I think that was game 2, or that might have actually still been game 1 too, but early upgrades were really coming into advantage for Stork. There were times when I think he had like +3 weapons and Stork was still at like +1. Like it was very tailor-made builds that Fantasy made to go after Stork, and they worked really well. We do have Stork getting a fourth base here at the top left. Might get scouted actually by some vultures, but I'd love to see Stork. I think in terms of, he's so good PvT, but he plays very standard PvT. If Stork could just maybe mix things up a little bit and do some, I don't know, do some elevators, some bulldogs, DTs every now and then, make him less predictable, because in 2 of his 3 OSL finals, or no, actually I think he's been to 4 now. He's been to 4. I don't remember what the other one was, but he lost to Fantasy 03 against tailor-made builds. He lost to Flash, I think 1-3, in basically builds that Flash just took advantage and abused Stork. And I really want to see him just try and mix it up a little bit. His standard is good, but I'd love to see him do some different things in the early game.
Yeah, Stork's play is, I mean, I don't want to say one-dimensional, but when you said Stork never gets DTs, I can't even remember a game in which Stork went DTs versus Terran. getting that fourth base, trying to grab that fourth base early is looking pretty good to me, and I think it's going to work out. I'm hoping it's going to work out. Fantasy got mines really late in this game. I think he already had Charon boosters when you were talking about that, and maybe that was mines just finishing. So very late on the Vulture upgrades and electing to get, I think, Siege mode, then Charon boosters. I might be wrong, but I think that's what I saw. And Fantasy going to go ahead and scout this Nexus and already get it down below half health. And he's got science vessels out already preparing for arbiters, which Stork is a little bit further away, and also to snipe those observers because he does not have any turrets. His detection is just scans. Tanks coming in now and being kind of flanked by vultures, which is different than we normally see. The Dragoons are getting right up into the tanks. It looks like he's going to pick up most of the tanks. One tank surviving, but still a lot of vultures and Goliaths on the field. So Stork's gonna have to get out some reinforcements to continue to deal with this push. But taking out all those tanks that early in the push is pretty good.
Yeah, that was really good about him making sure he targeted the tanks. Unfortunately, it was really unfortunate the timing that those vultures came in from the back just a couple seconds later, and he would have been able to do a lot more damage. But I think Stork's going to be able to hold just through the sheer power of Dragoons over vultures and Goliaths. There's only a couple tanks left, and they are being dropped. A nice little Zealot bomb there, grabbing a mine into it and letting a Dragoon come in and finish the work. But yeah, Stork is definitely going to be able to hold here in Fantasy in real big